Hello.
Hello.
I was just wanting to know, can our physical bodies change with our emotional processing? Like when I was younger, I think I was about 8 or 9 months of age, and I had a boil on my left bum cheek,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really bad. And Dad ended up, instead of, I don't know why my parents didn't take me to the doctor or anything, but my dad ended up squeezing all the pus out.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually, a lot of the fat in my left bum cheek came out with that as well.
Yeah.
So I've got a big scar on my bum that I really don't like, and I'm really self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
So obviously I've got emotions to deal with that. But I was just wondering, if I was to deal with those emotions, would that sort of change the scar?
Yeah, totally.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But let's address some of the emotions first. And firstly, there is a link between your dad doing that, the pain you felt, and the reason why you still have the pain when you look at it on your bottom yourself. Does that make sense? So the key is to look at the relationship. There is a relationship between your emotions from your father, the emotions you had about the event, and actually the boil itself is also a result of an emotion that was being suppressed in you as a child as well.
Yeah, and also is it also to do with their emotions, the reason why I got it when I was that age?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Remember, the child is always reflecting the emotions the parent denies.
Yeah.
So much sickness in a child is caused by emotions the parent is denying right at that moment. So what age were you?
I think I was about 8 or 9 months of age.
Right, so very, very young.
Yeah.
Yep. And so there's got to be quite a lot involved there. And also why your dad didn't take you to a doctor to get it removed.
Yeah.
There's also a lot in that emotionally for you. The key with all of these emotions is to understand that once you release them, your body will heal. So I've had my body change markedly in the time that I've dealt with emotions, and still is changing. I find there are times when I get scars, like I am on the right leg at the moment. I'm injuring myself quite often on the right leg at the moment, and it's all to do with how I'm viewing myself, and the scars remain there, and then as soon as I work my way through some issues, the scars just disappear.
Oh, cool, because
Right.
I've got some scars on my legs that have been there for years.
Yeah.
And I
So
don't like them
what
either.
eventually happens is your whole body will operate perfectly, which also means that every cell in your body replicates perfectly. So instead of replicating with the injury in it, it replicates itself as a perfect cell structure as a result of dealing with the emotion. When you have the emotion inside of you, your body will continue to replicate based on the emotion that's stored. And this is why scars remain. Scars remain because there's an emotion that created the scar in the location in the first place. That emotion itself, if it doesn't get released, actually creates the problem with the replication of the tissue, the cell structure. All of you know that with every 7 years, basically, your cells completely renew, right? So if they completely renew, why do you have a scar after 7 years? It's got to be because there's something else causing the scar, and what's causing the scar is the emotion. So once the scar is produced, which is the law of attraction event to trigger the emotion anyway, once the scar is produced, what happens is that it will not release until you release the emotion. So the scar will stay with you your entire life, or it'll release over time, or it will completely disappear. It just depends when you deal with the emotion. So I've got a big scar here where I had an operation when I was 2 years of age on my bowel. And I am right at the moment dealing with that emotion. And as I'm dealing with that emotion, this scar here is noticeably lightening and disappearing, right? But up until now, it's been there the entire time. But you can see it the entire time. And so the key is just allow these processes to continue, understanding they're all emotions anyway, and if I focus on the emotion, all the physical stuff will right itself.
So...
Can I also address one other emotion?
Yep.
You want to also look good. So that's one of the emotions that you will need to address in this process.
Yeah.
Like having an investment in looking good is also a judgment of when you look bad. So there's some judgment there from somewhere in the past that you need to look at.
Now I've just...
Sorry.
I've remembered it. Okay, so obviously any time like that I wear togs or anything, that triggers me because I think...
Because somebody can see the scar on your bottom.
Yeah. And sometimes when I walk past people, I think they're laughing at me, or, you know, I've had that a few times, and I always feel like other people can really notice it, but that's just because I notice it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people tell me that they haven't even noticed it before. But so obviously it triggers me a lot. Sometimes I forget about it, and but so because it does trigger me a majority of the time. But I'm not actually getting into the emotions. How would I actually go about that? Like, would there be something else that would...
When it does trigger you, what do you do? What's your feeling?
Well, it's really just judgment about myself. Like,
Right, so you go into self-punishment.
Yeah.
See, can you see what you're doing?
Yeah.
You're going into punishment of yourself for having something. So you're in this place.
Instead of feeling the grief.
Instead of feeling this. So
Yeah.
you're in punishment of this. So the first thing to do is to look at why you want to punish yourself. That's an act of rage towards yourself. So that's an act of anger. So what you're doing is actually punishing yourself, and that's an act of anger. So there's anger that's covering some fear you have about your body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So look at the fears and start letting yourself list the fears you have about your body, and then get underneath those fears and what grief does that cover. And remember, most grief is how I see myself. So there's something about how you're seeing yourself here that you're not prepared to grieve, and instead you want to attack yourself for. Does that make sense? So allow yourself to grieve it rather than attacking yourself for it. And as you do that, you will release a lot of the emotion.
Yeah. And also with boils, are they like... Do you attract boils because of anger? Is that what it is?
It's deep suppressed rage, and in the case of your age, in your parents.
Oh, okay.
So, and probably something related to that age in them as well.
Yeah.
So the age that you experienced at 8 years of age or 9 years of age, something happened in their life at that age that caused them. I actually had 3 on my bottom, big boils, and 1 big one on my chest when I was little, and I used to get styes all the time, you know, those... And all of those ailments that I repeatedly got were all a reflection of what I'm feeling that from the parents that the parents haven't released. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.